this video, we work smarter, not harder. Some assembly required. So here I am connecting my two ends. So I have the right side facing to me, and I am making sure. I failed to explain how I hung the back on the machine. That on this sleeve, I have the right sides facing each other. So right side, right side. And now I am easing both pieces together. It is not always easy to ease the pieces together. But sometimes this is way easier to ease them using your machine to hold them up. And then you just put the stitches on what feels like the right needles. And then you have a decision to make. You can either hand sew them, going through each stitch, or you can knit a row and then latch tool, or just gate peg, gate, whatever you think you want to do. It's not about it being perfect, it's just about it being done. So there. Sometimes you go through a long stitch, sometimes you go through a short stitch. Just as long as everything has a stitch, well, has 2 stitches on it. That's all that matters at the end of the day. This one I'm going to stretch up here, and this one's going to be here. If you have it right, the stitches, well, the needles won't have any pressure on them. That one's just being a little naughty. Okay, there. I don't like working with dark colors anymore. I find that my eyes don't want to focus on where they are. So now we have a little issue. So this one is missing. So now I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to very carefully figure out why. Okay, that's got to come off. I'm just going to keep backing it up until I find why. It's not easy to do this all the time. Sometimes you end up moving the stitches many times. I think right here is where it went silly. Gotta watch to make sure that these stitches aren't misaligned or that you're not splitting them. Sometimes what you think is a purl bump is actually part of the stitch prior. So you got to be careful that you're grabbing the right thing. You don't want to grab it the wrong way, because then you end up twisting it. And as you can see, because I went back and I eased everything around, the stitches have relaxed. And now I just need to find this little one here. Aha! That's hiding. Okay. That one goes on there. These three come off. Okay. Here, here, and here. There we go. All right. Now attention 10. I'm grabbing my yarn again. Attention mast. So I want this to be closed in, so I think I'm going to knit across and then do gate peg. And then that'll end up back down here, instead of having a lot of bulk up by the neckline. Or I could backstitch this, and then it'll still have the relaxed atmosphere that it usually requires. It's totally my call. I think just for continuity, I will just do the gate peg. It'll just be more secure. So this is basically how I'm going to do all of these pieces together. I am only connecting at the armholes. And then I will do the side seams, and then we will come back for the neck. Well, not neck. For the collar. Okay, so I will see you back here in a little while, and we'll get these pieces done. Sarcasm aside, how do you know which side is which? Well, the sleeves have a similar point to the fronts, but the fronts have buttonholes and button markings, so it's kind of obvious which one is the front. And the back has the waist yarn for where we're going to put the collar. So if you were curious about that, don't beat yourself up. It took me a few minutes to even think of how I was going to word this. So now I'm working on the second half of the back, and I have it over the same stitches as I did for the other side. And all I did was I put the neckline on the right side instead of on the left side of the bed. I hope that makes sense. So I noticed on the last video that we kind of missed the end stitches here. So I decided to show you that I am gate pegging all the way back to where I started with the carriage. Just 5 more stitches. At this point. So that's stitch 20. 21. 22. 23. 24. And 25. 1 and 2. Pulled all the way through. I'm going to leave this one a little bit longer for seaming. There we go. And that's how it's done. Next up, one of the fronts onto one of the sleeves. So the sleeve on the fronts and the sleeve, the armhole on the fronts and on the front of the sleeves are way smaller than the previous work, like the back. And if you remember correctly, the fronts and the sleeves on the short side were had less rows, I guess is what I'm trying to spit out there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to hang the short side of the sleeve, not the neckline. This is the neck. Okay, it connects. I am just hanging to the armhole, which I'm going to assume will be around 22. And we'll ease it from there, and then I'll come back and tell you any changes. Here, let me move that. There, now you can see. Stitch 22 and left 15 and 22 right is where I'm going to see if I can ease it onto. Well, that's nice. So with just easing it on there, it eased on 15 left and 24 right. So now I'm going to grab one of the fronts. Well, I'm going to grab both fronts. Figure out who belongs where. And put the appropriate front over the number of stitches. This is pretty cool. And let's hope we don't put it on upside down. So apparently this is the button side, not buttonhole. So this would make this the left side. So we're going to start at the underarm. And we're just going to go across each of the stitches here. And we're just going to ease this on. This is an incredibly boring part of knitting. So I will come back when it's all the way on the stitches. Okay, just like before. Goes into the machine. Now it seems like I'm pulling really hard. I'm not. Just those stitches are really, really, really tight. And now we're just going to work it all the way back to the armhole. I'm again not going to bore you with this. All right, I'm leaving a long yarn tail on this one for seaming. Pulling it through. And this one is done too. So that's sleeve, front, back, and sleeve. I believe it was 24 by 15. All right. Now we're going to do the other side. Here we go. So this is the button side. And this is where we need to be. So we're going to start at the cast off for the sleeve, armhole, and we will work our way all the way over to here. I'm just going to hold this a different way. That's the final one. So here we go. I will come back when that's done. So this is the last seam. There we go. Now we gate peg again. After this seam, I'm going to go and very carefully sew up the buttonholes and the side seam here, and I will bring you guys along for that, because I think it's important that you know what I'm doing to sew those up. I can't just tell you, yeah, just sew them. That's hardly fair. So I'm going to reposition my camera when it's time for that, and you will see how I make that seam invisible from the front side of the piece. So I'm going to continue with my gate peg and call it a day for today, and we'll come back tomorrow to do the seaming and then the collar.